Hi everyone, welcome to our 30-day learning Oracle Goldengate Classic Architecture training. Today is day one. My name is Ashish Agarwal, and I'll be delivering this lecture to you. So before commencing the session, just a quick round of update regarding my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Ashish Agarwal _GG. So if you haven't visited the channel, I would request you to do visit the channel and do like, share, and subscribe the channel. The channel is dedicated to Oracle Goldengate related videos. Thank you. So today is day one session of our Oracle Goldengate training batch. This is the new weekday batch which I have started. So for those who knows me, that's fine. For those who don't know me, so my name is Ashish Agarwal. I'm expert in Oracle technologies, which include Oracle Goldengate and Oracle databases, RAC, DataGuard, all Oracle technologies. But I focus, I provide knowledge and I provide trainings on Oracle Goldengate only. I have 17 plus years of training experience. In fact, by October end, I'll be entering into the 18th year. No, I'll be completing, 18 years. I'll be entering into 19th year. So I have various high rated courses available, which include Oracle Goldengate Classic Architecture, Microservices, and Veridata. I have trained more than 8,600 plus trainees so far and taken 280 plus corporate batches. So I'm Oracle certified professional and Oracle Goldengate certified. I'm blogger and speaker at lot of places, lot of Oracle user group. I have presented my papers at different user groups, Oracle user groups, and I have my own YouTube channel. So this YouTube channel, it is only dedicated to Goldengate related videos. So my email ID is ashishagarwal@gmail.com. If you anytime want to reach out to me, you can tweet me your queries at ashishagarwal@, or anytime you have any issues, questions, you can also reach out to me on my WhatsApp, which is the details are also available on my YouTube channel as well. So the agenda of this training agenda includes whatever is mentioned, we discuss much more than that. So it includes introduction to Oracle Goldengate, different architectures of Oracle Goldengate. So I'm saying that this is classic architecture. So for those who may not be aware, like what is classic architecture, I'll be discussing about that as well. Then we'll be discussing about Oracle Goldengate new features, Oracle Goldengate upgradation from one version to another. Then we'll discuss about how to do installation of Oracle Goldengate, different concepts and components related to Oracle Goldengate, how to perform DML replication. So DML replication means insert, update, delete, the transactions which requires exclusive commit. So how to replicate that, we'll be discussing. Then Goldengate also has the capability to perform the initial load. So how do we perform the initial load using Goldengate? We'll discuss about that. Data filtration and transformation using Oracle Goldengate. So Goldengate has the capability to perform the data filtration as well as transform the data as per your requirement. So we'll be discussing about that. Also, we'll be discussing about strategizing how to perform zero downtime upgradation and migration using Oracle Goldengate. We'll be discussing regarding bidirectional configuration of Oracle Goldengate. So bidirectional means is, so Goldengate not only allows unidirectional replication, it also allows bidirectional. So bidirectional means both the sides will be live. So unidirectional means one side to another, but in bidirectional it could be like application is connected to both the sides and replication will happen to the others. Then bidirectional auto CDR. So auto CDR, so there are few new features of Oracle Goldengate which we'll be discussing during the training, like bidirectional auto CDR, parallel replicate. What is Goldengate Hub? So nowadays Goldengate Hub is also getting very popular, right? You must have heard that implement Goldengate as a hub server. Some of you must have received this requirement at the workplace, or you may be reading some blocks or something related to it. So we'll be discussing about that as well. Then DDL replication. So now in this training, we do discuss about how to monitor the lag and performing the troubleshooting. That is really very important. So during the training, you will be learning about troubleshooting Goldengate, performance tuning of Goldengate, as well as troubleshooting Goldengate. Now the thing is, in Goldengate, there may be 1,000 records, which are, there are 1,000 issues which you may encounter. Now, I can tell you in this training about 10, 20, 30 issues, right? And the thing is, there might be any new issue which you may encounter. So the whole purpose is to make you self sufficient so that you are able to resolve any issue. So during the training, we'll be discussing about strategizing how to approach a issue. That is very important. So the training, the purpose of these sessions is to ensure that you are self-sufficient on your own. You are self-dependent. You're not dependent on others for any issues or issue resolution or anything else. So that's what we'll be discussing. So we'll be discussing different scenarios. Lot of things we'll be discussing. Then we'll be discussing about Goldengate checkpoint. Now, the thing is, there are certain terms like checkpoint, data pump, which we have in Oracle Goldengate as well. So, which are common, of course, with database as well. Why I mentioned these is because we also have these terminologies like tech checkpoint, data pump in at the data Oracle database level as well, so that you don't get confused. So, until and unless I mention it is database checkpoint or database data pump, it means we are talking about Oracle Golden Gate. Okay, so if I only mention the term during the training checkpoint as well as data pump, it means those are two related to Golden Gate. Okay, then we'll be discussing about configuring the security in Golden Gate environment. Now, the thing is, Golden Gate is a product which works with data, and data is everything for any organization. A tool can give you 1,000 benefits, 10,000 benefits, 100,000 benefits. But if it cannot guarantee the data security, it's of no use. So Golden Gate ensures like how to configure security in Oracle Golden Gate environment. We'll be discussing about that. Just to ask you one question. Say for example, you have a bank account in some bank. Say for example, you have a bank account in a State Bank of India, or Bank of America, or Royal Bank of Scotland, or any other bank, right? If any of your data gets leaked, like your name, your phone number, email ID, or your credit card details, bank details, will you be will you be basically opening your account in that particular bank? Will you bank with that bank? Of course no. So security is everything. And Golden Gate deals with data. That's why it is very important. Then we'll discuss about parameters in Oracle Golden Gate. So Oracle Golden Gate works according to parameters provided in the parameter file. So what are parameters? How to read about parameters? How to configure new parameter files? How to comprehend existing parameter file? So after completion of this training, you may be going to an environment where you have to set up Oracle Golden Gate from scratch. So you will need to create the new parameter file. Apart from that, there may be some scenarios where Golden Gate parameters are like Golden Gate is already set up. So you might need to set up a new parameter file. So how can you do that? We'll be discussing that as well. Now, how to use logdump utility to read the Golden Gate trail file. So this again comes under troubleshooting, performance tuning. So how to do what we are going to discuss about new Golden Gate features, like new and good to know features like parallel replicate, heartbeat table, performance matrix server, then Golden Gate self-describing trail file. So apart from that, we are going to discuss a lot of things. This is just a few things which I have mentioned, but apart from that, like obey, include, macros, zero downtime upgradation and migration, all those topics are covered. So we cover much more than this during our training. This is just the outline which I have mentioned. So today is day one. So day one session agenda includes introduction to Oracle Golden Gate. So with each session, now the thing is this session I have labeled as 30-day learning Golden Gate challenge. So what does this mean is during with each session, I'll be providing you tasks, challenges to perform. Upon completion of those tasks, you will be like you will have better knowledge and understanding. So we'll be discussing and then I'll give you challenges, tasks. So that's why I have named it like 30-day Oracle Golden Gate challenge. So with each session at the end, upon completion of each session, I'll give you tasks to perform. Upon performing those tasks, your learning will be taken to the next level. Okay. One question which people ask me is, you provide the trade. So Ashish, are you only into this full time as a Golden Gate trainer, or do you do something else? So the thing is, guys, I work as a Golden Gate consultant. I take Golden Gate projects like short-term Golden Gate projects. I deliver them and then I train the internal team and come out of those. So basically, I work as a Golden Gate consultant. So people ask me one question. So why I'm answering this is this training is a real-time training. I want to ensure that it's industry standard training. So I regularly upgrade the course content as well so that you get what is best in this industry. So all the topics, whatever are there or course content is there, it is based on like what you can expect in the industry. Okay. So day one session agenda, what we are going to discuss. So in day one training, we are going to discuss regarding introduction to Oracle Golden Gate, overview of Oracle Golden Gate, different types of architectures available in Oracle Golden Gate, what is Oracle Golden Gate Veridata, types of extracts and replicats, then Oracle Golden Gate introduction, and how to set up your virtual box and training guidelines will be discussed. So first of all, before we proceed, let us discuss about Oracle database architecture. Now, Golden Gate is a product which works on database, right? Now, what is Golden Gate? So Golden Gate is a CDC tool. CDC stands for Change Data Capture Tool, right? So Golden Gate is a CDC tool, Change Data Capture Tool. So what does it mean is it captures the changes from the source database and then whatever change data has been captured, it applies it to target database. Okay. So Golden Gate does the replication from source to target database. Now, for Golden Gate, the source has to be a database, right? So the best part with Golden Gate is Golden Gate was developed in 1995 and it was a standalone company at that time. It wasn't Oracle. In 2009, Oracle overtook it, and since then it is known as Oracle Golden Gate. Now the thing is, Golden Gate was a product which was developed or whose concept was there basically prior to Oracle overtook it. So initially, the best part with Golden Gate is when Golden Gate was developed initially, it was developed not only keeping Oracle in mind, but keeping all the databases. So initially, when it was developed for tandem databases. So which are used for ATM networks. But later on, it support like it wasn't basically developed for Oracle. In 2009, Oracle overtook it and it made it marketable. And of course, it made some changes in the technology as well. So the best part with Golden Gate is the way it works for Oracle, in the same way it works for SQL Server. In the same way it works for MySQL. In the same way it works for Postgres database as well. So any database, so I have named few, but whatever database is supported by the Golden Gate, it works in the same way. Okay. Now, for each database, now the question is from where Golden Gate is able to capture the data. Does Golden Gate reads the tables directly or how does it able to capture the data? So the answer to the question is each database has a transaction logs. Each database has transactional logs from where Golden Gate reads the data. So Golden Gate is a change data capture tool. So each database, when we talk about Oracle, these transaction logs are called as, can anyone tell me what these transaction logs are called as in Oracle
Read,
database?
read logs.
Redo logs or backup of redo logs are taken on disk, which are called as archive logs. So in Oracle, these transactional logs are called as redo logs or archive logs. In SQL Server, MySQL, they are called as transaction logs. So basically what happens is whatever changes are happening in the database, this concept is there with each database that the transactional data, whatever transactional changes are being made to the database, all changes gets returned to the transactional logs of the data. So these transactional logs in case of Oracle are called as redo logs, or once the backup of redo logs is taken on disk, they are called as archive logs. Okay, so it is very important for us to understand how Golden Gate works. So let us discuss about Oracle database architecture to understand it. So if I have to consider Oracle database, so Oracle database is divided into two parts. First is instance, which again in turn is divided into two parts, memory components and background processes. Right? So Oracle database is divided into two parts, instance and Oracle database files. Again, the instance is divided into two parts, which is memory components and background processes. Right? Now, Oracle database files are the files. Basically, Oracle database contains the files which are data files. Data files are the files which are actual files which contains the actual data. So say for example, when you do select star from employee table. So from where do you get that information from? You get that information from the data stored in the data files. Then you have control files. Control files are the files which contains the metadata information. They are the most critical files in Oracle database. If you lose them, you lose the data in the database. So control files are the most important files at the database level. Then you have redo log files. So redo log file contains the change data. So whatever changes are happening in the database, those changes gets returned into the redo logs. Now these redo logs are in limit, right? They are in limit. So say for example, you have defined 150 MB of redo. So three redos, you have defined a 50 MB. So subsequently they will get filled, right? So what happens is you take the backup of these redo log files on disk on your operating system. So the backup of redo log files when taken on the operating system, your OS level, they are called as archive log files. So archive log files are nothing but backup of your redo log files. So archive log file contains the changes, whatever is being made to the database. So remember one thing, your redo log files or subsequently archive log files contains committed as well as uncommitted data. They contain both DDL as well as DML transaction. Okay. So any change which is being made to the database gets written into the transaction logs. In case of Oracle, these transaction logs are called as redo logs or backup of redo logs, which are called as archive logs. Okay. Now, how do these redo logs or archive logs get the data from? So the thing is, when we talk about any change data capture tool, including Goldengate or any of its competitor as well. So redo log files or the archive log files, the transaction logs basically are the source from where they fetch the data from or read the data from. So I again repeat, for Goldengate, these redo log files or backup of redo log files, which are called as archive log files, they serve as the source. So Goldengate processes reads the data from these transaction logs, captures the changes, and then those gets applied on the target database. Okay. Now the question comes, how do your redo log file get the data from? And of course, subsequently the data goes into archive log. So how do they get the data from? So the thing is, this is internal concept, and guys, right now I'm only going to discuss about redo log files or archive log files, what is related to Goldengate. This Oracle database architecture itself is so wide. If we decide to discuss on this, it might take us 4 or 5 sessions. So I'm going to discuss only what is related to Oracle Goldengate, these redo log files or archive log files. Now the question comes, how do these redo log files or archive log files get the data from? So the thing is, your instance has different memory components, library cache, data dictionary cache, right? So these are the memory components, library cache, data dictionary cache, database buffer cache, Java pool, redo log buffer. large pool, and there are other memory components. Along with it, there are background processes as well. Different background processes are PMON, SMON, database writer, which is called as DBWR. Then you have log writer, which is called as LGWR. Then you have checkpoint. So this is database checkpoint we are talking about, because we are talking about database architecture. So this is database checkpoint. Okay. And then you have other background processes as well. So how do these redo log files get the data from is they get the data from your redo log buffer with help of log writer. Now the question comes, how does this redo log buffer get the data from? Let me give you an overview. So the thing is, at the database level, say for example, at your SQL server or your Toad or SQL prompt, you ran one command, which is update dpt set location equal to Boston, where department number is equal to 10. Now what will happen is, this is a change which is made to the database. Now this particular buffer gets returned into the database buffer cache first. Okay. So the thing is, don't think that once you make the changes, so we have to understand, guys, one thing, internally how database works. So just like your car, when you turn on your car ignition, so you see that your car is getting started, right? Your ignition is getting turned on. But internally, there are a lot of things which happens, right? And then your car ignition turns on, right? Same thing applies to database as well. You see that your when you like update the data or select the data, for you it looks like it's happening internally. There is nothing which is happening, but internally there are a lot of things which happens. After that you get that information, or if after that you get the any transaction getting applied. So the thing is, you update any record, for example, so that buffer internally gets dirty. So that buffer is called as dirty buffer. So when you select, what happens is that select statement goes to database buffer cache, but it's not dirty. Any change data which is there in buffer, if there is any changed data, then the buffer is called as dirty. So dirty buffer refers to changed buffer with the changed data. So say for example, you update the record. So what happens is data from data files will go to database buffer cache. Once the data is there in database buffer cache, once it is dirty, the copy of the dirty buffer gets returned into the redo log buffer. The copy of the dirty buffer gets logged into the redo log buffer. Now, data from redo log buffer gets returned to the redo log file with help of this log writer process. So log writer process writes the dirty buffer from redo log buffer to redo log file. Now your log writer process writes the data from redo log buffer to redo log file under these conditions. Whenever there is commit, the data from redo log buffer to redo log file will be returned. Or when your redo log buffer is 1/3 full, or when there is 1 MB of redo in this redo log buffer, or every 3 seconds, the data from redo log buffer gets returned to redo log file, or before database writer process writes the data from database buffer cache to data file. So under these conditions, your log writer process writes the data from redo log buffer to redo log file. Okay. Now the question comes again, if the data directly has to be returned from database buffer cache to data files with help of database writer process. So guys, once you update the record, so the change data gets written here. However, the data which has been changed directly gets returned from database buffer cache to data file with help of this database writer process. Now the question comes, what is the need of this redo log file then? If the data is directly getting returned into the data file, then why can't database writer regularly read the data from database buffer cache to data file? What is the purpose of this redo log file? So guys, the purpose of these redo log files is to redo the data. I'll give you one example, very good example. Okay. Now, suppose today in your account you have $10,000. Okay, $10,000 or 10,000 Indian rupee you have in your. Okay. Now you decided to deposit $5,000 more into your account. Okay. So you went to the bank, you went to the cashier over there, you handed over your $5,000 and asked her to deposit into your account. Okay. Now the cashier is accessing the front end. Okay. So from front end, he or she will mention that this account number has to be credited with $5,000 or rupees. Right. So the updated balance should be 15,000. So at the front end, they made the change. At the front end, the change is made. You are given the receipt and you went home considering that the amount is will be reflected in your account. But what happened was at the front end, the request was sent. However, before it could be applied onto the target database, before that particular transaction could be applied on the target database, the database crashed due to some reason. It could be power failure, it could be any other reason, right? So what happens now is you come home, you found out still it's $10,000 in your account, and you are flabbergasted to know this because it should be 15,000 and you are losing 5,000 currency, right? So what happens in this scenario? If you lose this money, bank will lose its credibility, it will lose its customer, it will lose its goodwill, right? Along with that, it's also the database issue. Now the thing is, what happens is now your redo part comes into picture. So the thing was, the front end request was sent, the dirty buffer was already made, the data from redo log buffer to redo log file was already done. But before, because when you see the actual data, you see the actual data from the data file. However, what happened was before the database writer process could write the data from database buffer cache to the data file, your server was crashed, right? Your server got crashed. So now how can you then apply those transactions which were missed? So for that purpose, you already have those redo or archives, right? So what happens is when the power failure due to which your server went down, when your server comes up after the issue, what happens is before the database could be restarted, recovery is made from the available redos or archives. So once that recovery will be made, during that time, your updated balance in your account would be shown as $15,000. Okay, so that's the whole purpose of this redo. So redo are used by all the change data capture tool. Not only Goldengate, any Goldengate competitor like SharePlex, Attunity, or any other product when we talk about. Each product, any change data capture uses your redos, your basically the transaction logs to apply those changes which were missed. So Golden Gate uses these redo log files or archives for capturing the change data because your redos contains only the change data. Whatever changes are happening to the database in any of the objects, those changes gets written into the redo log file. And again, I repeat, I have listened to people saying that redo log files or archives contains only committed transactions. Guys, that's not true. That is a misconception among, or I can say misunderstanding as well, that these redo log files or your transaction logs contains only committed transactions. That's not true. Your transaction logs contains committed as well as uncommitted transactions. Okay, so for Goldengate, your redo log files or backup of redo log files, which are called as archive log files, they access source. So Goldengate or any change data capture tool, they capture the changes from these files, and once these changes are captured, they action accordingly. So the thing is, for Goldengate or any change data capture tool to work, first of all, you have to ensure that the changes are getting logged into the transaction logs. Remember, if the change is not getting logged into the transaction log, then Goldengate or any change data capture tool won't be able to capture. The reason being, the source of any uh, source of Goldengate for any database is the transaction log. Okay. So for Goldengate to capture the data should be first of all logged into these redo log files, which subsequently would be logged into your archive log. Okay. So this is about Oracle database. Now, when we talk about any other database, each database has its own transaction logs. So when we talk about SQL Server, MySQL, Postgres, or any other database, each database has its own transaction logs. In case of Oracle, these transaction logs are called as redo logs or backup of redo logs, which are called as archive log file. Okay. Now, next question which people ask me is, what are the competitors of Oracle Goldengate now? So there are various competitors of Oracle Goldengate. The major list of Goldengate competitors include, as of today, when I talk about Goldengate competitors, is SharePlex. SharePlex is the nearest competitor of Goldengate. Then you have Attinity. Attinity is another product which is competitor of Goldengate, which is again a data replication tool, which has some limitations as well. Okay. Then there is EMC recover point. Now there is one more product which is AWS DMS, that is also considered to be a competitor because it is basically used as a kind of data migration service. So I never consider it as a competitor of Goldengate because but people consider it as a competitor, but I would say it's not a competitor. Okay. Then you have like EMC Recover Point, IBM Mirror, Hitachi has its own product, HP Continuous Access is there, Symantec Veritas, Data Course, and Symphony. Now let me give you a staggering figure. 95% of market, or I should say 96% of market is being captured by Oracle Goldengate in replication space. So when you go out into the market, 96% of implementations for data replication is grabbed by Oracle Goldengate. SharePlex and Attunity, if I have to consider, like SharePlex would have 2% of market, Attunity would have 1% of market, and rest is consumed by different players. Okay. Now, one more question which people ask me is, why data guard is not mentioned here? Data guard should also be mentioned, right? Guys, the answer to the question is, you can compare apple to apple. You cannot compare apple to orange. So same applies to Goldengate and data guard. If Goldengate is apple or orange, data guard is vice versa. You cannot compare both of them. Data guard is not a competitor of Goldengate or replacement of Goldengate. Goldengate is not a competitor of data guard. One thing is, you have to consider data guard is free. Goldengate is a licensed software and the license cost is really high. So there has to be some difference, and there are a lot of difference. In fact, if you go to my YouTube channel, there is one session which I did related to comparison between Golden Gate and Data Guard. You can find it. So here it is. So you can find, if you want to watch it, you can watch it. Okay. So now there are different list of solutions which are there, but of course, Golden Gate is the market leader for it. Now, market leader, when we talk about, now the question comes, why is Golden Gate a market leader? Is there something specific which it's provide with what others cannot provide? Is there a specific reason? Yes, there are. So for this purpose, there are both technical as well as financial reasons, which we are going to discuss. Why Golden Gate is the primary solution. So let us discuss first about the technical reasons. Why Golden Gate is a market player, or why Golden Gate is the most trusted solution in comparison to others. So with Golden Gate, the data is sent in real time with sub-second latency. So with Golden Gate, Golden Gate can replicate the data with sub-second latency. That means that as soon as the transaction gets committed on source, immediately or within few seconds, it gets applied to the target database. So guys, this terminology, like data is sent in real time. So this real time terminology is taken from Oracle. But let me tell you, nothing in this world is real time. So this I always say it's near real time. The reason being, real time means as soon as the transaction gets committed on source, immediately, like within like without any millisecond loss as well, it should be available on target database. That is not possible, right? So there is always a delay. Maybe in seconds it is, maybe in milliseconds, but there is always some gap. So with Golden Gate, data is sent in real time with sub-second latency. That means the transaction gets applied on the target database with very little latency. Golden Gate supports heterogeneous environment. So the best part with Golden Gate is Golden Gate supports like Oracle and non-Oracle. So your source can be Oracle, target can be DB2. Golden Gate can replicate the data. Your source can be SQL Server, target can be MySQL. Golden Gate can replicate the data. And another advantage is it supports your different hardware types as well. So that means that if your source is, say, for example, on Sun Solaris, target is on Windows, Golden Gate can replicate the data. It does not need to have the same platforms. Now, Golden Gate delivers high performance with low impact. Now, the thing is, Oracle promote it as no impact product. But let me be honest with you, one thing. Golden Gate is a product which is external to the database. Now, since it is external to the database, it is bound to have, even though it may be very low, it may be very minimal, you may not find, but you cannot say that it is no impact. So that's why I call it as low impact product. Okay. Now Golden Gate has ability to move large volume of data very efficiently. So Golden Gate can move your blob, or any other large objects very easily. And no single point of failure. That means troubleshooting the Golden Gate issues are pretty easy and pretty straightforward. So Golden Gate is best in class leader in real-time data solutions. So Golden Gate complements existing Oracle product, like it ensures continuous availability for heterogeneous systems, real-time data access for reporting. So you can use your target database for reporting purpose as well. Like Golden Gate capability involves like lot of organizations just do Golden Gate replication and use target database for reporting purpose. I'll give you one scenario, one example. Like that example is my favorite. In 2011, I was working with one of the biggest bank of India, which is State Bank of India. Okay. Now, at that time, some database size was 43 terabytes. Now, what used to happen was they had primary server kept in Mumbai, India, and their target, like they were replicating the data using data guard. So they were using data guard for disaster recovery. So their target was their disaster recovery site was kept in Hyderabad. Now during night they used to run like lot of reporting jobs, which used to generate lot of archives. So I have seen like their data guard lagging behind 3 days as well, up to 3 days as well. You can understand if anything happens during that time, what issue it might cause. Like your data guard, even though it is configured, you cannot still switch over to your data guard side, right? Same way, what used to happen was these banking and telecom domain, they run a lot of reporting jobs during OLTP transactions. So what used to happen was, many of you can relate, sometime back, SBI was losing its credibility. So basically, people were like when you went to the State Bank of India, they were not able to, like when they used to go to the bank, they used to get the response that server is not responding. So what do they mean by server? Basically, database was unresponsive and they were not able to get the response, right? That was happening because their OLTP transactions used to run a lot during your daytime and it used to consume a lot of database resources. So what I suggested to them at that time was, let us create a secondary site using Goldengate. And because with Goldengate there will be very limited lag, maybe 5 seconds, 7 seconds, and you they can switch their reporting jobs, whatever reporting jobs they are doing, instead of running it or interfering with OLTP transaction, they can run it on reporting job. They can run their reporting jobs on the database getting replicated using Oracle Goldengate. And you won't believe, when they switch their reporting job to the Goldengate server, you won't believe like how much performance improvement they got, and also customer trust they they were able to reclaim. All this happened after Goldengate was utilized. So Goldengate, in fact, is like the primary domain. If I talk about for Oracle Goldengate is data guard. Sorry, primary domain for Oracle Goldengate is banking domain and telecom domain. These are the two domains which are primarily used by Oracle Goldengate. These two domains are the primary one which uses Oracle Goldengate. Okay, so Goldengate is like Goldengate is used for real time. Goldengate is one of the best tool available in the market for business intelligence when it combines with Informatica or ODI. So it provides real-time data for business intelligence, EPM, Exadata. It supports zero downtime upgradation and migration to Oracle database. So you can use Oracle Goldengate to perform zero downtime upgradation and migration in your environment. So Goldengate is being used in like food and drug stores are using it. Busiest ATM networks, largest commercial banks. In every domain nowadays, it is used. So another thing why I mentioned was why Goldengate is the product which is widely used in terms of its competitors. By competitors, like Shareplex, you won't believe like it is a product which is almost 20 years old, but still Shareplex is not that popular. Why still Goldengate? So the another so I discussed with you the technical reasons. Now let me discuss the financial reason. The financial reason is the product is Oracle. Because the product is Oracle, that's why it is another reason it is most popular. Now, many organizations nowadays, what they are doing is they are signing end user end user license agreement with EULA. So, with that, if they have Goldengate in their environment, they are free to use Golden Gate on any servers, any number of servers based on terms and condition of use. So that's the another reason why they are using Golden Gate. And because they are using Golden Gate, that's why the Golden Gate administrator requirement is there. Right. So Golden Gate provides high availability. It ensures high availability. It ensures zero data time upgradation and migration. It provides you from one version to another or migration from cloud to on-prem. So nowadays organizations buy short-term licenses of Oracle Golden Gate. They are buying short-term licenses of Oracle Golden Gate just for zero downtime upgradation and migration. Then you can use Golden Gate for live reporting, business intelligence, all those things Golden Gate is used for. So there is a question from Murli. What is ideal real-time cost of Golden Gate? Need to know just for reference. So the thing is, Golden Gate is a license tool. Okay. And the product is owned by Oracle. So the licensing cost, if you are interested, if your question is related to the licensing cost, basically you have to get in touch with some Oracle account manager. But the thing is, Oracle licenses are calculated based on CPU cores. So number of CPU cores your database is on, it depends on that. It doesn't depend on number of Golden Gate installation, but how many databases your Golden Gate is connecting to. So if it is connecting to 10 databases, it will the licensing cost will come as per CPU cores of those 10 databases. But more like what is the cost of licensing or how much it costs and other details, I would suggest see the I'm here to answer all your technical questions or technical queries. If there are financial things related to Golden Gate product, then of course the product is owned by Oracle. And another thing is like cost, it's not same for each organization. It depends on your relation as well. So some of the organizations, if they have good relation, they can get up to 90% discount on that. So there is no definitive cost which you can say. But yeah, Golden Gate is a licensed product, and Golden Gate Golden Gate is a licensed product, and the cost depends on number of CPU cores. Okay, so now Golden Gate supports capture and delivery to multiple source and target database, which includes like there are few listed: Oracle, DB2, SQL Server, Sybase, Ingress, Teradata, Enscribe. So this is the Enscribe database for which initially Golden Gate was developed for. So initially when Golden Gate was developed for, it is developed for a solution for ATM networks. So ATM uses Enscribe database. So initially, when 1995 Golden Gate was developed, it was developed for Enscribe database. And Golden Gate supports different operating systems and platforms as well, which include Windows, Sun Solaris, HP, HP UX, HP, True 64 different variants, IBM, and much more than that. Now the question comes, how can you identify whether your environment is supported by Oracle Golden Gate or not? So guys, remember one thing, each technology has a certification matrix associated to it. So we'll be discussing more on that in the next session about that. Okay, now let us discuss about architectural overview of Oracle Golden Gate. So before I proceed, there is a question from Yoganath which says that when does Golden Gate reads from archive log? So I would suggest Yoganath, hold on your query for one day. In the next session, this query will be answered for you. Okay,
Okay.
so now let us discuss about different architectures available in Oracle Golden Gate. So now I'm going to answer. There is a question among a lot of people, what are different available architectures in Oracle Golden Gate? So let me answer those. So Oracle Golden Gate basically, initially when introduced, it was introduced as Golden Gate in 1995. In 2009, Oracle overtook it, and since then it is known as Oracle Golden Gate. Now, until 2017, there was only one way to go with one way to set up or configure Golden Gate, and that was through command prompt GGSCA. So GGSCA is available. GGSCA prompt is available since Goldengate initial days, right? So until 2017, it was called as Oracle Goldengate. In 2017, Oracle renamed it to Classic Architecture. So Classic Architecture means traditional architecture. Okay. Now, Classic Architecture is a command prompt based GGSCI based architecture, which is available for both Oracle as well as non-Oracle database. Okay. Now, Oracle Goldengate Classic Architecture allows you to set up, manage, troubleshoot, configure Goldengate through command prompt GGSCA. GGSCA stands for Goldengate Software Command Line Interface. Okay. Now, remember one thing, 21C is the last version where classic architecture is available. Post 21C, classic architecture has been deprecated. Okay. For some of you, this may be the news as well. Now, there in 2017, when the existing architecture was renamed to Oracle Goldengate Classic Architecture, they launched a new architecture of Goldengate, which is called as microservices architecture. So, microservices architecture was introduced in Goldengate version 12.3. So, this is available from 12.3 onwards. So, it allows you to set up, manage, troubleshoot, configure Goldengate through GUI as well. So one of the feature of your Goldengate microservices is GUI. Okay. So Goldengate microservices allows you to set up, manage, troubleshoot, configure Goldengate through GUI. It allows for better integration with cloud applications. So microservices, Oracle Goldengate microservices is a new REST API based architecture, which whose one of the feature is GUI. Now, Oracle Goldengate microservices until 19C was available only for Oracle database. So you can configure Oracle Goldengate microservices if you are using Goldengate version less than 19C. You can use only Oracle Goldengate classic architecture. For so so basically, if you have any other database apart from Oracle, you can use until Goldengate 18C. You can only use classic architecture for that. From 19C, support for Goldengate MSA was extended to 5 databases as well. Okay. So 5 databases which include MySQL, DB2, SQL Server, and Postgres apart from Oracle. Okay. So from 19C, support for Goldengate MSA is extended for 5 databases, which includes MySQL, DB2, SQL Server, and Postgres. Okay. So just to give you an overview, until Goldengate 12.2, only classic architecture was there. Okay. From 12.2 From 12.3 to 21C, both classic and microservices architecture coexist. So basically, you can use any of the two. From the newest version of Goldengate after 21C is 23 AI, which has been launched recently. So from 23 AI onwards, it's only microservices. There is no classic architecture from 23 AI onwards. Okay. So microservices architecture is the future of Oracle Goldengate. Now, the thing is, if you still go out into the market, 80% of implementations are still on classic architecture. I should say 82%. However, microservices is the new architecture. As of now, the presence of microservices architecture is 18 to 20%, but Oracle has planned to upgrade 40 to 50% of implementations by end of 2025 to microservices architecture. Now, the thing here is in classic architecture, there are processes which runs. So classic architecture is process-based architecture. However, microservices is service-based architecture. in which there are different services which runs. So the basic difference between classic and microservices is classic is traditional architecture, microservices is new type of architecture. Okay, and microservices is future of Oracle Goldengate. Now there is one more product in Goldengate family which is called as Oracle Goldengate Veridata. How many of you have heard about it? So Veridata is a separate license product which is part of Oracle Goldengate family. So when you go out for anything related to Goldengate, any job support, anything related to Goldengate, any question, issues will come from these three things only. Classic architecture, microservices, and Veridata. None of the question will go out of these three things. Okay. So what is Veridata now? So Veridata is a product, as the name suggests, it verifies the data for you. So Goldengate is a product which replicates the data. Now Goldengate is a product, it is a technology where error can come. Where, say for example, some of the transactions were not applied. So you want to check how many transactions, how, like, what are the data discrepancies on the target database in comparison to source. So what you can do is you can run a Veridata job. So Veridata is used to find the data discrepancies between two objects and can repair them as well. So Veridata is used to find the data discrepancies among the objects, and then if required it can repair those discrepancies as well. Okay, so these are the three things which constitutes Oracle Goldengate environment: classic architecture, microservices, and Veridata. So Veridata is a product whose latest version is still on 12.4 something. So Veridata is still on 12c. Veridata connects to source and target database. It supports Oracle as well as non-Oracle database like SQL Server, MySQL, DB2, Postgres. Okay, so you just need to connect with your source and target database, then run the repair job. Then run the data discrepancy. Then go to the job when it gets completed, find the data discrepancies, and then if required, it can repair it as well. Repair means whatever discrepancies are identified, Veridata can repair them as well. So Oracle Goldengate comprises three things: classic architecture, microservices, and Veridata. So related to Goldengate, any question, anything comes from these three things: classic architecture, microservices, and Veridata. Okay. Now my question to you, which I regularly face is, so guys, whatever question I ask, I've already gone through those questions. So that's why I pose that question to you. So my question to you is, with introduction of this microservices, does integrated no longer exist? So with the introduction of microservices, so we see there is classic architecture. You must have heard the term classic a lot. But with the introduction of microservices now, does integrated no longer exist? What do you think?
No, it exists.
It exists.
Okay. Okay. So let me answer it in the next slide. Now the thing is, in Goldengate, there are different types of extracts and replicate, which you will be understanding in the next session when we discuss about architecture of Goldengate. So in Goldengate, there are different types of extracts and replicate. So how is Goldengate able to capture the data from transaction logs and write it to replicate process? So the answer to this question is Goldengate either captures or receives the changes from the transaction logs. The Goldengate process is called as extract. And how does Goldengate able to apply the data on the target database? Using the replicate process. So these are the two types of processes you have in your Goldengate environment. So there are different types of extracts available. So integrated extract was launched or introduced in 11.204 Goldengate and database 11.203. So integrated extract is the one which was launched, like it is the latest one. Classic architecture basically was renamed. So initially when Golden Gate was launched, there was only one type of extract and it was called as extract. Once integrated was launched, they renamed it to classic architecture. Okay. So different types of extract which include integrated extract, which is 11.204 Golden Gate, and database version should be 11.203. Okay. Then there is classic extract, which is supported. Now, remember one thing, with multi-tenant architecture, which is container pluggable, classic extract is not supported. You have to use integrated form. Now, different types of replicates which are present in Oracle Golden Gate environment is non-integrated or classic replicate. So when Golden Gate initially was there, it was called as replicate. Once integrated replicate was introduced, the existing one was renamed to classic replicate. Okay. Now there are different types of replicates like non-integrated or classic replicate. Then you have integrated replicate. For configuring integrated replicate, your Golden Gate version should be minimum 12.1 and database should be 12c. Then coordinated replicate was launched in 12.2. So coordinated replicate is to make or run multiple threads of your classic or integrated extract. Then you also have a parallel replicate in your environment. So parallel replicate is a feature which was introduced in 12.3. So there are two types of parallel replicates. One is parallel replicate running in non-integrated mode, and second is parallel replicate running in integrated mode. Okay. Now, what type of replicate you have to choose? So the answer to this question is, I always prefer you should be choosing the latest one. So parallel replicate is the latest one. So I would suggest you should be choosing that as well. So what is integrated extract? What is classic extract? These are the two types of extract. Now, what is integrated extract and what is classic extract? We'll be discussing that in the next session. Okay. So there is a question where from Rajiv. So how does Golden Gate interact with ETL tools like Informatica or ODI? So that is very good question. So we have a separate topic related to it, how it interacts with or how Golden Gate is used with the ETL tools for business intelligence purpose. So once you attend this, probably at 11th or 12th session, we have the topic related to how Golden Gate is used with Informatica or ODI. We have a specific topic. So we'll be discussing about that as well. So Veridata will continue after 21C also. Yes, Veridata is a product which is separately licensed product and Oracle is continuing it. Though the latest version of Veridata is 12.4. But subsequently, yes, it will be getting there. So Veridata is a product which is very much part of your Golden Gate family. Okay. Now, Veridata supports bidirectional. Yes, you can configure Veridata in bidirectional, but I'm just wondering, like you will be just running the job from one side to another. You cannot run your bidirectional. So you know Veridata, right? It supports like it verifies the data between source and target. Okay, so absolutely, Samad, you mentioned absolutely correctly. To compare using Veridata, you need to consider one side as a master. So one side should be considered as source in Veridata and another side should be considered as like target. Now there is a question when parallel non-integrated replicate is useful. We'll be discussing about that during later part of the session. So guys, today we have just discussed about introduction to Oracle Golden Gate. And subsequently, during the session, you will get all these questions answered. So there is a question which is very valid question. Veridata requires additional license. Yes, Veridata is a separately licensed product. It is not covered under Golden Gate license. Okay. So this is about the session. So we'll be continuing from here in the next session. New session is conducted tomorrow. As per Eastern time, it is 9:30 p.m. And as per Indian time, it is 7 to 8 a.m. So in the next session, we'll discuss about Golden Gate architecture, how data flow happens. So today you just got to know about extract and replicate. But what is extract? What is replicate? You will get to know in the next session when we'll discuss about Golden Gate architecture. Then we'll also discuss about Golden Gate certification matrix. We'll see how to download Golden Gate binaries and how to install Golden Gate binaries. Okay, so the steps to do prior to the next session is create the virtual boxes. So virtual boxes are shared with you for the enrolled students, for the training enrolled students. They are also available over the WhatsApp group for the enrolled students. Okay, and the tomorrow's session link also remains same. So first two sessions are public and they are available for everyone. But after that, it is only available for training enrolled students. Okay, now if I have to quickly go through the today's session recap, what we discussed today is in day one session of Golden Gate training, we discussed about introduction to Oracle Golden Gate. So today's session was like introduction and basics. So we discussed about introduction to Oracle Golden Gate. So in 2009, Oracle acquired Golden Gate, and since then it is known as Oracle Golden Gate. So there are two types of architectures. One is classic and second is microservices. So classic is command prompt GGSCI based architecture and microservices is GUI based. We also discussed about Oracle database architecture and how Golden Gate captures the data. Then there is another product in Golden Gate family which is called as Veridata. Now, guys, remember whenever you are going out for any interview, any job support related to Golden Gate, any question will come from these three things: classic architecture and or microservices and or Veridata. None of the question will go out of these three things. Okay, so why Golden Gate? Golden Gate is a near real-time replication and it supports heterogeneous environment and heterogeneous platforms. Now there are two types of extract process, classic and integrated extract. Classic is there since beginning of Oracle Golden Gate. Now what are different types of replicates? Non-integrated or classic replicate, integrated replicate, coordinated replicate, parallel replicate, parallel integrated replicate, and parallel non-integrated replicate. So these are the different types of replicates which are available. So next session we'll be continuing tomorrow, same timing. Okay. So thank you everyone. Whoever wants to drop off, you can drop off. I'll be discussing about like setting up VMs